Hello, I'm Joyce Barrett, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar. Webinars are brought to you by the generosity of Heritage Ohio supporters. We invite you to become one at heritageohio.org. Heritage Ohio's mission is helping people to save the places that matter, build community, live better. Today, we will have a presentation on the economic vitality point of the 4-point Main Street approach. We will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. If you have a question, please type it into the question box at any time, and then we'll read those at the end. The presentation itself is in the handouts. If you look to your panel on the right, there's a handouts box, and you can download this presentation of Matt's. Most issues with the webinar software, if you can't hear, well, you can't hear me. If you're having problems, please just sign in again. If you're on a webinar, just close out and sign in again. Later today, we'll be sending out a recording of this webinar, which you can share or watch again at your leisure. Today, our presenter is Matt Wiederhold, is Executive Director of Main Street Medina. Matt's been in the Main Street business for 18 years. He's a graduate of the National Main Street Institute, a 1992 graduate of the University of Toledo. And I think that we can just take it away now, Matt, okay?
Fantastic, Joyce, thank you. Thanks everyone for signing on today. I'm happy to talk about economic vitality, something that we're very passionate about here in Medina. And I'm going to share some of the things that our committees have done over the years to help bring our district up to 100% occupancy. We're by no means an expert on this, but I'm going to share some of our ideas, and then at the end I would love to hear your thoughts and kind of your approach. So first I'm going to start with, if the screen works, there we go, just kind of a little context. So Medina was founded in 1818 as the county seat, and for the majority of our existence, we were a rural agricultural community. In the early 1980s, though, Medina quickly grew as a bedroom community for Cleveland and Akron. From 1970 to 2000, our population virtually doubled twice, going from 7,000 in 1970 to 14,000 to nearly 27,000 residents in the year 2000. Main Street Medina was formed in 2007 as a partnership between the existing Merchants Association, the City of Medina, the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce, Medina County, and other key stakeholders from around the community. The goal of creating our organization was to have one entity focus on the development and marketing of the historic district, to recruit businesses to fill vacant storefronts, and to increase tourism and the vitality of the community. Our central business district has always been the heart of our community and the center of local commerce from its inception through today. Though the district has gone through many changes, including 2 massive fires that destroyed more than half the town, we're proud to often hear that our district makes people feel like they're walking through a Hallmark movie set. While business types have changed over the years, we work every day to ensure that the district is relevant and vital to the community. As times change and communities evolve, so too do the businesses in town. Our physical space evolves as well. Small mom and pop stores become shopping boutiques, corner stores become restaurants, and historic niche retailers like shoe stores have been lost out to big box and one-stop shops. What's kind of interesting to me today is that when our communities were built, there were huge mail order or catalog shopping opportunities such as Sears, Montgomery Ward's, and Marshall Field's, yet small businesses were able to compete and thrive. Today, this model is still around, as we see with places like Amazon. So what the heck happened? So in Medina, things were going pretty well. The 80s were the decade of wealth and power. Wall Street dominated our country. The 90s were the days of grunge and a second rise of a strong counterculture. The early 2000s saw our country booming, money flowing, and people spending far more than they earned by using credit. Several things happened across our nation in 2008, including the stock market crash in late September of 2008. Also, the bottom dropped out of the housing market. Suddenly jobs were lost, businesses closed, houses were foreclosed upon, and the economy was in chaos. As a new organization created in 2007 and hiring our first director in 2008, we really had to get a handle on the district and the community, so we went old school and did a simple survey to ask people what they wanted and didn't want in the business district. To further support the redevelopment of the city, Main Street Medina and the City of Medina hired the OSU Extension Office to do a sales leakage study to show of what we had too much or of too little in our commercial district and trade area. With this data, we invited local business owners, property owners, landlords, and members to a presentation to hear the outcomes of the study. There were some surprising things revealed in the study, showing that we had a deficit in apparel and accessory stores, candy and confectionaries, shoes, and drinking places. It also showed that we had a surplus, however, of gift and novelty shops and hardware stores. Using this data, we organized a business recruitment event called Open for Business and targeted businesses that we wanted in town. This study was really important to our work because it gave us hard data to kind of back up what we heard from the residents and business owners about what they wanted in town. And it showed where they were spending their money, but that was money that wasn't currently coming into Medina. In 2008, we had 13 vacancies in our district, which was about 25% of the storefronts. The business development, economic restructuring, economic vitality, whatever the name of the year was, the committee organized and coordinated with property owners and commercial real estate companies to have all the vacant storefronts open for tour on the same evening. Invitations were sent to targeted businesses and business types that we thought would be a good fit and would help address some of the leakage as defined by the study. So in the survey that we did with residents and business owners, we asked them specifically what were some of their favorite businesses in surrounding communities, and then we reached out to them to try to recruit them to our district. The event was a success with over 100 interested persons attending and then spending some time talking at a reception. It was a great partnership to promote the district. So we advertised this Open for Business in local media and in Crane's Cleveland, which is a pretty important business paper out of Cleveland, Ohio. We had some great sponsorships by KeyBank, First Merit Bank, Gersbacher Real Estate, of course the city and the chamber all partnered on this. So this is a map of the vacancies. We had 10 of the 13 vacancies open, and it was interesting. Some of the stores were vacant because stores had closed, and then some, which were key properties, such as number 10 on the map, kind of in the middle on the right-hand side. That was originally built as a movie theater. It was soon remodeled into retail, and then it was National City Bank. If you remember, in the mid-2000s, National City closed, but at least here in Medina, but because they had a long-term lease on this space, the property owner kept that vacant until the lease was up. Certainly makes sense. We wouldn't expect anyone to turn away income, but it meant that we had a long-term vacant storefront on our square. Ultimately, from Open for Business, we attracted 2 businesses to town from the event, but it started us on a path of filling our vacancies so that today we're proud of nearly 6 years of 100% occupancy in the district. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't lost businesses or that businesses haven't closed. What it means is there's a high demand to be in our district so that when a space does become available, landlords generally can quickly fill that space. We do continue to struggle a little bit with some of the business mix. Most landlords are very sympathetic and supportive of Main Street Medina and what we're trying to do in town. Some landlords kind of will rent to the first person that hands them a check. So we're always pushing for retail and restaurants and shopping in our district, but being the county seat, we also have a fair number of lawyer offices, accountants, CPAs, and more service-oriented businesses, and that's something with which we still struggle. So flash forward to 2018, our district was doing very well. We were able to fill a lot of the vacancies using that leakage study and really hardcore recruiting business types to the district. In 2018, the board of Main Street Medina approved the expansion of our Main Street footprint. So on the screen, on that graphic on the left, if you look at kind of the pinkish red diagonally striped area, that's our historic district and our original Main Street area. To the bottom of that is kind of a yellow, kind of wonky shaped striped thing. That's an area that we're calling Southtown. So Southtown was a mixed use district to the south. It suffered from years of redevelopment. There's really no hardcore plan. Originally, this was kind of our industrial area. If you see the train tracks going across that map, there's also a blue line that's Champion Creek. As a small farming community, this was our industrial park, as it were. where there were mills. This is where shipping happened and rail came in. And this was kind of the center of, the farming community and the industrial part. But right now, there are several properties that are ripe for redevelopment, and the community vision for Southtown is more of an arts and entertainment district, something a little less hallmark than the Uptown Historic District. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to create a wild honky-tonk, no law, kind of Wild West type thing. But at this point in our historic district, we don't have the vacancies that we need to recruit more businesses and bars and entertainment. In partnership with the city, we applied for and had approved the creation of a revitalization district, which allowed us to bring 15 D5L liquor licenses to the district area. By having these available at face value, it's a huge recruitment tool for new bars and restaurants to help achieve the vision of Southtown. This is something that we worked very hard with the city and city council to get this approved. On the left of the screen is the map of our districts, Southtown and the historic district. On the right is the outline, that white line is the revitalization district. So if you don't—
Matt,
yes.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Do you happen to have your webinar control panel open? Can you reduce it? Can you reduce it with that red arrow to the right? It's blocking some of your pictures.
How's that?
Yes, thank you very much.
Sure, thanks. Sorry about that. So that map on the right, that white line outlines the revitalization district. If you notice, it's a little bit bigger than our district footprint, but we wanted to include some areas that might be in future development. So if in your community you don't have available liquor licenses, if someone wants to open a restaurant or a bar, they have to buy a license on the open market, and that can be anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000. With the D5L license, they're controlled by your municipality, and a new restaurant gets that at face value, which I think is $2,400, $30 or something like that. So it's a huge advantage to help recruit businesses and bars to your area. Is that going to keep going up? Let's hope not. Okay, so we've worked really hard to fill our district and get businesses here, but what do we do now? How do we continue supporting in what we have? So with us, partnerships are very key. In the city of Medina, we have a wonderful relationship with our city and with our chamber, and we're really proud of that. We all work together, realizing that our historic district is the heart of our community. So what we started doing, 8-9 years ago, I believe, is whenever a new business opens, the team goes together to celebrate that business with a ribbon cutting. So we have representatives from the city, from Main Street, from the chamber, sometimes board members join us, and we go and take one day a month, and it's called Ribbon Cutting Day. This has grown from a small team into a pretty large contingent that really shows support. What's kind of cool is because these are so successful, we now regularly have representatives from the state, elected officials. Our senator, representatives often attend this, county officials, city officials, and the local press. So these are really important, and it's a way to bring focus to a new business. When a business opens, we all share that on our Facebook pages and social media. The city puts that out, and the local press covers it. When we do these, we don't necessarily care if a business is a member of either organization. As long as they're a business within the city, we go out to support them. This goes a long way in showing support for their opening, but then it really builds a strong relationship working with businesses and kind of forms that first line of communication and building that bond of trust. So economic vitality is not just recruiting businesses to your community. Sometimes it's a bit of a chicken or an egg scenario. So which comes first, businesses or people? To bring people to Medina, we started doing multiple special events on the square with the hope that they would then shop and dine while in town. So for us, we're very fortunate that in the mid-60s, our community started our restoration, and there's certainly work to do, but we're thankful that we don't have major vacancies or kind of those white elephant buildings in town. So that's a gift for us. The curse of that is that often when you renovate a building or you uncover a facade or paint something wonderfully, people start to notice and they pay attention. In Medina, we didn't necessarily have that opportunity, So we started using targeted special events as a way to bring people to town. Different audiences are targeted with different events that we host on our square. We produce over 40 special events a year and annually bring more than 150,000 people to the district, generating a conservative $1.5 million in economic impact for the city. Now, I say conservative because we kind of take a guess at how much people spend. We know when people come to town, whether it's at an event or whether they're coming in to ladies' night out to walk the district, we take a guess that on average, they're spending maybe $10 a person. So if it's a sandwich and a drink at a coffee shop, it's likely $10. They could also go to the Amish furniture store and spend $1,500, $3,000 on a piece of furniture. So by saying $10 a head, that's how we get that $1.5 million of economic impact for the city. That's a really important number when we ask the city for support because they realize how much value we're bringing to the community. So getting people, what I mean by that chicken and egg, oftentimes, if you don't have an opportunity to do something transformative in town, you need to do what you can to get people to come to town. Early on, the mayor and city council asked us to produce more special events to promote Medina. Because of the events and the attendance that we've been able to achieve, business owners have taken note and have opened shop in Medina, including Huth and Harris Wine Merchants, Circles on the Square, and Castle Noel. So these are residents or people that traveled to Medina for a special event and saw the vibrancy of our community and things that were taking place on the square. And they were looking strictly at the number of cars in the district and feet on the street. Because they saw how vibrant the community had become, they decided that this was a good location for their business. We also market Medina as a destination, as America's hometown. It's a moniker that we were given in the mid-1940s when Pathé Pictures filmed a movie short in town to capture the essence of small-town America. By creating a consistent message for the community and by positioning Medina as a destination for residents and guests, we're able to increase foot traffic, which then supports the businesses. So Medina is pretty unique within our area that we do have a largely restored, vibrant community. And by bringing people here, whether it's just to hang out on our square, whether it's to come to Castle Noel, which is an amazing destination, high voltage go-karting, root candles, when they come to town, they often spend a day on our square. Now, this is something that has been happening for a while, and if Southtown develops the way that we think it will, I think eventually we'll see Medina becoming more of a weekend destination and a boost in tourism. And certainly, if that's able to happen, that's more people in the district supporting our businesses, which then gives you the numbers that you can use to help recruit businesses. So in partnership with the city, when they ask you to increase tourism, there are a few things that need to be in place for a quality experience, including wayfinding and amenities. Annually, the City of Medina, our chamber, Main Street, and the Community Design Committee produces a printed visitor's guide. The guide includes a map of the district, along with a full business list and an annual list of special events. We distribute about 20,000 of these annually. While online resources and smartphones have replaced a lot of old marketing and information systems, we find that our guests are somewhat older and they really like a hands-on piece to use as a guide. This is something that we hire a graphic designer and we update this annually. This past year, we added Southtown. So this is an important piece that we use at the Visitors Bureau. We hand this out to guests at special events. We have it in our visitor center on the square, and all the stores have these in their stores so that when people come in, they can say, hey, where's this restaurant? Where's the shop? They can hand them a map and then they'll get that information. One thing that our Economic Vitality Committee is working on this year is creating kind of a stock list of 20 things you should know about Medina. So we went to a really interesting presentation by our Visitors Bureau, and they had a marketing person there. And they said, we as a district are the ones that should create the narrative about our town, not the media, not somebody else. So our goal with this 20 things you should know about Medina is that every frontline person, every store owner, every employee, everyone is going to have the same message. So we're giving correct information. We're all promoting Medina in the same way so that messaging is consistent and reflects what we're trying to do. So in response to the number of visitors to the district who are shopping and dining and attending special events, the city purchased a former bank drive-through on the square and created public restrooms and a pocket park called Bicentennial Commons. Because we wanted to ensure the people coming to town, whether it's for a special event or just a day trip, it's not the nicest to have plastic porta-johns at special events or around the square. And a lot of businesses were complaining that, you know, they had too many people using the bathroom. Now, I guess the upside of that is that that means there were people in the store, but that also means they had a lot of maintenance to do on their own. A common complaint with our historic downtowns is the perception that there's a lack of parking. Not everyone, many people that come to Medina say, oh, parking is so hard. Our district is literally surrounded by surface parking. However, we also are the county seat, so the city partnered with Medina County Courts and the library to build a 3-level, 300+ parking deck to alleviate the concern. The city also early on removed the parking meters from the district, and we have free, time-limited parking throughout the town. One thing that we didn't anticipate in going through this is the signage for this parking deck used to say municipal parking or courthouse parking or something like that. After a while, we realized that maybe people didn't realize what municipal parking was, so that was changed to free public parking. So some of it's just watching people and listening to people, and then kind of adjusting your method to make sure that they know that there is parking available. We still get complaints about parking, you know, which is an issue when you're trying to get people to come to town to support the businesses. But we did a study that nowhere in our district is any further than parking in the middle of the local Walmart parking lot and walking to their front door. So there's free available parking throughout town. On the northwest side of our town, there was an old Masonic Temple and a movie theater that was unfortunately in pretty rough shape and had to be torn down. The city owns the property, and it will soon be redeveloped for mixed use. One of the things we don't really have in our district is much residential living. Some of you are very blessed to have a built-in residence right in your downtown. We don't have that yet, but that's something that we're working on. So to support the development, the city is constructing another parking deck on the northwest corner of the town, and this will be about 200+ cars. Another tool that our Economic Vitality Committee has taken on is small business seminars and training. Now, it's very interesting because we have such a wide variety of businesses from, you know, we have CPAs, we have lawyers, we also have small mom and pop shops. So offering this business education is key to maintaining a great relationship between the organization and district businesses. We try and offer these sessions anywhere from 2 to 4 times a year, and the committee brainstorms topics, but we also ask the businesses what we need. So these are just a few of the presentations that we've had. We facilitate this. These are promoted through the city and the chamber. They are free to Main Street members, and I think we charge $10 to future members. Some of the things that we've covered is CPR, how to give CPR, safety and security trends, how to spot counterfeit money. We had Google Marketing come in, which is a hugely successful presentation. So these are all tools that we're trying to help educate the businesses and give them tools to ensure their success. So today it's interesting, you know, it used to be take a survey, print some flyers, check on businesses. That's kind of the old model for economic vitality and how we can support our district. But today there are some new tools for economic development and new ways in which we can promote businesses. One thing that we talked about was creating a marketing co-op. So this is a digital marketing co-op. We initially went back and forth on this with many different ideas and different models. We wanted to do something to specifically promote certain businesses within the district. One, to increase their sales and ensure that they have vitality in their store, but two, also to bring people to town. We sent out an RFP, which was answered by 3 companies, and ultimately chose to go with a digital marketing firm that's located here in Medina. Currently, we have 18 members of this co-op who are each paying $100 a month to participate. We started this in November of last year, and certainly the members saw a slight increase in sales, but it was interesting, the number of people who were pinged or who clicked the link was very high, which gave us hope that eventually this would really start to take off. So some of the cool things about this is we were able to really target our core audience. And part of being a member of this, so that $100 a month from the 18 members, that's $1,800 a month. So by co-oping their dollars, we're able to buy a lot more digital marketing and a lot of web space rather than airspace. So by combining money, we could get more coverage for them than they could on their own. What's kind of neat about this is, in listening to the members, we really ask them, list your services, list who you think your target audience is, and then tell us who you want to reach with your target audience. So some of it we know that our typical visitor in Medina, or our most engaged consumer, and this is taken from Facebook and other surveys that we've done, is generally middle-aged women, and middle age is a pretty wide chasm, anywhere from 30 to 60. They can be from local or from within an hour's drive. We're a bit fortunate that we are a half an hour south of Cleveland, and we very often get people coming down from Cleveland for the day. So the members of this identified specific competing shopping destinations also that they wanted to target and potentially capture that audience for Medina. We have a few lifestyle centers such as Crocker Park and Legacy Village in the greater Northeast Ohio area. We also have other communities like Hudson and Chagrin Falls that, by using digital marketing, frankly, it's kind of scary how much information you can get and how much influence you can have. So if you've ever noticed on your phone or on your computer, if you're looking at Google or scrolling through Facebook, looking at news media outlets online, you'll start to see pop-ups for things that you maybe talked about or things that you Googled. What that's doing on the back end or the inside of the web, they're targeting that, or they're dropping cookies or bookmarks or pings on your phone and your sites, and they mine that information. So the company with which we're working on this digital marketing, they buy that information, and that helps them target who we want to have in our community. So geofencing is another thing that you can literally virtually reach out to people and kind of ping them and drop ideas into their phone and kind of direct them where in your district they should go or what they should do. Right now, our marketing co-op is largely focused on a Facebook messaging opt-in model. Those who accept get a message asking to confirm their interest, and then it's a series of messages about redeeming the offer. They have to enter the amount spent, and they have to enter where that money was spent. So with this information, we can directly track where people are going, what they're spending, and then we can give that report to the store. These are a few examples of some of the members. This isn't certainly all of them, but these are some of the offers. What was interesting is we learned that the offer had to be pretty significant to entice people to redeem it. Today, small businesses are competing with major discounts offered by stores such as Kohl's or even Joann Fabrics. So it's really hard for a store to say we'll give you 10% off a blouse or clothing or a handbag when Kohl's is saying, hey, we'll give you 40% off a blouse or shoes or a handbag. So the offer had to be significant. The offer can only be redeemed once, and it's only for one person. Another aspect of economic vitality is managing your social media. And I don't know about many of you, but I get completely overwhelmed by this, and we all know it could almost be a full-time job. A local professor at the University of Akron, who her husband grew up in town and they live very near here, she reached out and she teaches a digital marketing class through the university. So she had kind of her 101 class do an audit of our social media. And then she had her master's class do the same thing and audit our website and our messaging and what we were saying. The result of it was that we did a full review of our social media platforms, the website, and the branding. What we realized is there's so much out there, and some of it we were doing well. Our Facebook pages do very, very well. Our Instagram is a little bit all over the place. Our Twitter account, frankly, is awful, and their recommendation was to just delete it, which we will likely do. And they gave us a lot of feedback on our website. So if you've noticed, and I certainly do this myself, today many people walk around with their face in their phones, whether they're chatting on Facebook, chatting with friends on Instagram, Snapchat, looking at websites. We had to go through and kind of reevaluate and restructure our website so that it was more user-friendly on a smartphone. Sometime take your phone and look up your website and see how easy it is to navigate. Some of the recommendations that they passed on, which then we were able to pass on to businesses for websites: don't put a large photo at the header of your website. That takes up too much space. Don't put so much detail on your homepage. Do a series of click links that people can then follow to get the information. We've done some hands-on training with businesses to help them kind of restructure their Facebook pages. We've given some input on social media and websites of different tools that they can use to help promote their businesses. So what lies ahead? Well, we don't know. Today, as we continue to rebuild our community and see the evolution, I often reflect that catastrophic change has happened in the past and will likely happen again in the future. We don't yet know the effect of the stay-at-home orders and what that will have on our businesses, but we know it's pretty certain that several stores will close. Thus far, we as a program have focused on sending out support information, helping promote online sales or curbside pickup, but the reality is that small businesses are hurting. Eventually, our district businesses will reopen, but perhaps not operate as they have in the past. Main Street programs need to be flexible in our support and forward-thinking in how we can support them. One of the things that we've been doing throughout this Corona stay-at-home pandemic is, rather than bombarding the district with emails, we're all getting information on loans and support and trainings. What I've started doing is a once-a-week email called Newsday Tuesday. I listen to the governor's message in the afternoon, glean things from that. We get information from the city and the county and the chamber, and put that all in one email. In yesterday's, I asked that people fill out kind of a form that we created online. We're seeing a lot of businesses do Facebook Live sales, and they're having great success. But what we're finding is some businesses who are kind of selling similar products are doing them at the same time. So on our end, we're trying to help them by scheduling those so that there's not overlap, and so that we're not getting last-minute messages, hey, can you put this on Facebook? I go live in a half hour. We've gotten some feedback in the past that as a program, we are over-posting on Facebook sometimes. So internally, we are creating a calendar of these Facebook posts and different things going on in the district. So certainly, the future for all of our districts is bright. We know that things will come back. We know that if businesses close, other businesses will open. Those might be completely different types of businesses than what we have today. We don't know what special events we'll be able to have this year. That's the main way that we have brought people to town to help support our community and spend money. That's going to change this year, and our board and the committees are really having a lot of discussions of what is Plan B, what is Plan C, how do we keep this going? But as I said in the presentation, our community has burned down twice. There have been many issues in towns. Some of your communities have flooded and we've had to start over, but ultimately we know that we can start over and things will be better, but just maybe in a different way. I appreciate your time today. I would love to hear your questions and thoughts. This is just what we're doing in Medina and what we've found for us to help build our community since 2007 to 2020 into a pretty vibrant place with full storefronts. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much, Matt. Okay, we're going to start with questions. We have several in already. Does Medina have any co-working space?
Not currently. Our program coordinator is working with a person who is proposing that. We don't really have the space for it in the main district. There's one building that could work, but that's one of the options that we're looking around Southtown. That was one of the main reasons that we added Southtown to the district. There were two really big projects. One was our first tax credit project was the renovation of a 4-story, 40,000 square foot former market exchange, a farmer's market exchange. But there's a couple warehouses that are underutilized, and we kind of see that that could be an option in the future, as we are a very strong bedroom community for professional workers in Cleveland and Akron. If the stay at home and work from home order continues, that could be an option. It's something that we're pursuing.
All right, the next question. Can you give us an example of some of the 20 things you need to know about Medina?
Sure. For a lot of us, it's kind of, like, where is root candle? What is root candle? Where is high voltage? What we want people to know is maybe a little history about town, when we were founded, kind of our setup, the amenities in town, simple things like where are the public restrooms, where's the gas station, where's the post office. What we realize is the business owners generally are pretty local and they know the community pretty well. But a lot of times the employees of those businesses maybe aren't as engaged. So it's more of a list of, where's this restaurant? How do I get to the interstate? Where can I get gas? Where is parking? Things like that.
Okay, thank you. The next question, Karen. Did your committee apply for liquor licenses, or did the city? Could you please explain this process for applying? And I'm going to just jump in before Matt answers this question. I'm very proud that Heritage Ohio went with Main Street Worcester to Representative Carmichael and got the D5L liquor license permit put through law a few years ago, and has been very beneficial to cities. We do have on our YouTube channel another webinar that we did that went through in great detail, but Matt, give us a capsule version of your D5L process.
Sure. So it's a really important tool, and as Joyce said, under the leadership of Heritage Ohio, this was put into law in Ohio. Oftentimes people right now say, where do you want to go to eat? And you'll name a certain restaurant, or where do you want to go hang out tonight, and you'll go to a certain bar. What happened in Worcester was really kind of cool. Because they were able to recruit so many restaurants and bars to town, they became a dining destination. So rather than saying, let's go to, I don't know the name of the specific restaurants, but it became, let's just go to Worcester and we'll figure out where to eat when we get there. With the D5L, that is specific. The revitalization district is specific to Main Street communities. It does have an equivalent, I believe, called an entertainment district for non-Main Street communities. But the way the process works is a local property owner has to send a letter to the city, I believe, requesting to form the district. The city has to outline the district and count the acreage. I think it's a maximum of 100 contiguous acres, and it's a certain liquor license available per number of acres. The city has to create that. It is approved by city council. That is sent to the state for review, and then they approve it. What's really cool about it is the city has control over the license. So those licenses are still issued through the Ohio Department of Liquor, but the city is the one that says yes or no to who gets that. The other important thing is that when you buy a license on the open market, you own that. So even though it's tied to a specific address, if you close that business, you can sell that license. These licenses through the revitalization district stay within that boundary. So if a business closes, that license goes back to the city or to the state essentially, and is available for the next person. So someone can't pay the face value and then pay or sell it to somebody to take it out of the district. It's a pretty simple process. The rules in the legislation are kind of wonky. So we had to work with our legislators, the representatives, to change some of the wording and get that approved at the state level so that Medina would qualify for that.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And Karen, you can contact us for more information, certainly. Next question, what was the funding model for the parking garages?
That was, it was split between the county court system. So that first parking garage I showed you sits behind our county courthouse. That was split between the county courts, the city, and the library. The library is just across the street. I don't know the exact breakdown. The county put in the majority of the money. The city had a really good part of that as well as a stakeholder. I believe the city helps maintain that currently. The new parking deck that's being built, I believe they're doing that through a tax increment financing model. That is kind of phase one of a future redevelopment on the northwest side of our community, where a new building, a mixed-use building, will be built with commercial space on the first floor and residential on the second and third floor.
Okay, thanks. Matt, how are you preparing to promote tourism to Medina throughout the rest of this year? If there are no events, what's the strategy?
That's a constantly evolving approach. You know, I've been listening to the governor almost every day, and I'm a news junkie, so I'm checking news sites all the time. It really remains to be seen on what the state will allow. Part of that remains to be seen on what our county health department will allow. The state might say that we can reopen. The county health department might say you can't have large gatherings. So we've been talking about doing some virtual events, looking to some of the success that you guys have had with your First Friday programs. Tourism is going to be tough for us. We are a place that people like to come and hang out. 6-foot social distancing is great, but the other reality is that even when we're given the okay to go back, essentially, I have a sense that people aren't going to start running back. People are afraid for very valid reasons, and that's an issue that we're all going to face. We can promote the heck out of everything that we're doing. We can promote every business and their sales. The restaurants have been so creative in takeout meals. We have an event center that is a huge center for meetings and weddings. Clearly those aren't happening right now, but they have kind of refocused and they're cooking family meals in their kitchen and offering those for takeout. We're still going to promote Medina as a destination and as a place for tourists and residents as a hometown, but we don't yet know the effect of the pandemic and the stay-at-home virus on how that's going to affect the outcomes.
Okay, next question. With your Open for Biz event, what was the best way to reach potential buyers and entrepreneurs?
Through the surveys that we did, we looked at other communities kind of within an hour's surrounding area. If you're not familiar with Medina, Cleveland, major city, is just about a half hour north of us. Akron is about 20 to 30 minutes east of us. Columbus is maybe an hour and a little bit more south of us. So we looked at those surrounding communities and looked at business types. Out of the sales leakage, you know, boutiques, bars, restaurants, that was what was identified in sales that we were losing. So we did a postcard invitation that we mailed to certain businesses to invite them to town for the evening. When they arrived, they got an information packet with information on every property that was available, and they had the opportunity to walk around and view those properties and talk to the brokers. At that follow-up reception that we had, there were bankers on hand to answer questions about loans, and there were also brokers there. But it was really more of a very targeted approach to certain businesses. You know, by name, people would say, we want XYZ boutique here in Medina, we love it. So we reached out and said, hey, here's what we have to offer. Here's our demographic. Here's our average income. Here's, you know, education level, housing value. So we gave them hardcore statistics, not colloquial thoughts of our community, but we gave them facts on who is the consumer base in Medina, and here's why we think you would be successful in our community.
Excellent. Next question. How do you balance working with the CVB and Chamber to provide similar type programs and similar type benefits to partners? Historically, and unfortunately, it's been so competitive in my town, and it's really been a deterrent. So your ideas to host business trainings, ribbon cuttings, opening celebrations, frontline hospitality training, 20 things to know, are great, but here it's stepping on toes.
Sure, I get that, and that's an unfortunate relationship in many communities. I will share that early on, you know, in our formation in 2007, 2008, the chamber was maybe somewhat more insular in that they weren't so open to partnering. But over the years, we really built a great relationship. kind of the approach right now is that Main Street Medina leads the effort for the vitality of our core central business district. So we have the 9 square blocks of our historic district and then Southtown. Excuse me, our focus is mostly the retail and restaurant business and some service businesses here. The chamber really focuses on business to business and the service industry and larger companies. The city focuses citywide on major manufacturing, although they're also a very strong supporter of local retail. So what that looks like is if there's a small business opening within the city that's retail, restaurant, and they're in or near the historic district, they're going to get the most value out of being a member of Main Street Medina. If it's a little bit larger business or an industrial business or service businesses, they're going to get more benefit out of the chamber. We, as a Main Street program, offer some business to business and referral between different businesses, but really that's kind of the focus of the chamber, is connecting the different businesses. So if a large manufacturing company comes to town and they say, hey, we want to get plugged in or be part of the community, you know, I'll have that conversation and say, I would love to have you involved in our program. Here's different sponsorship levels, here's programs we're doing, but the value for you as that kind of business is going to be more from the chamber. Now, the thing I also tell them, and you guys have heard me say this, if you're a member of any organization, the organization can reach out and provide you as much information as they possibly can. But if as a member, you don't take advantage of that, it's on you as a member. As I often say, it's not the gym's fault that I'm husky right now. It's my fault for not using that membership. So we do these things in partnership because ultimately our focus is a strong community. The city isn't membership based, so they're strictly there for support. They're the first stop for new businesses coming in town if there are any issues with utilities or services that need to be provided. But right now, the relationship with the chamber and Main Street is great. We focus on small retail and restaurants. They focus on larger industry and service businesses. And it's been a very successful model for us.
Okay, the next question is, how do you fund your printed map? Are all downtown partners included?
Kind of. So I say kind of because we expanded the district. Originally, we listed every business in the district, but the reality is that most visitors coming to town, since this is a visitor's guide, most of them aren't coming here for a day trip and seeking out a CPA or a lawyer. So we really kind of refined that and list retail, some services, and restaurants. We fund it through the city has an annual marketing budget, so does the chamber, and so does Main Street Medina. Our marketing budget is pulled out of our general budget, which is kind of split between municipal support and other memberships, earned income through special events and fundraising. So the businesses on the map at this point do not pay to be part of it. We do that as a benefit to them as members and supporter of Main Street or members and supporters of the chamber and the city. So it's funded largely through the city, and then the chamber, the community design committee, and Main Street also put in a significant chunk of change for that.
Okay, the next question. We have a D5L, but no one will bite because they're worried about the 76% food part of the law and being worried that they cannot meet that. Have you dealt with this issue, and how did you address it?
Early on, we had discussions about that. When Sandra Hull was with Worcester, her response was, they're probably not going to check, but then her response also was that wine counts as food. Unfortunately, I've never been able to verify that. Wine is viewed differently than liquor, and it has different rules. So thus far, we've had one restaurant open who has applied for the D5L, but they're a restaurant. I don't know what will happen when that comes up. I would love to hear if someone else has had that experience. We've not found any written rule around it necessarily, but then again, I'm not sure that it's going to be enforced, but that's more of a state issue. But if anyone else has had that happen and has addressed that, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, thank you. What was the funding structure for the bank converted into public restrooms?
That was city money I don't know exactly where that came out of. I think it was general fund. The city bought that. It used to be a Key Bank drive-through. It was vacant for a little bit, and then it was a drive-through coffee shop, and then it was vacant again. So the city invested in that because their charge to Main Street was, Main Street, we give you a significant amount of funding every year. We want you to bring people to town to make us a vibrant community and to support the businesses. We did that. And then we went back to the city and we said, hey, city, you know, we're doing these quality events. We're trying to promote Medina as a great destination. But every time we have an event, we have to spend money on renting porta potties. They're not the most attractive. Many people don't like using them. So in partnership, the city helped us create a quality experience. As I said, we do about 40 events a year, but there was virtually, at least in the past, there was some special event on our public square almost from the middle of February through the end of November. So it's not just us doing things on the square. There are art shows, there are band concerts, jazz concerts, theater performances. So the city took out of the general fund money to buy that drive-through and make it into public restrooms and a visitor center and a pocket park. So it was city funding to do that as an amenity to the guests in the district.
Okay. Right now, this is the last question we're coming up, so please type something in if you want a question answered. Matt, what are you doing to prepare for attracting businesses when this crisis is truly over? There will be some vacancies.
Yes, there absolutely will be vacancies. We had planned to do an update to the leakage study. The initial sales leakage study, there was one done in the early 2000s. We were formed in 2007 and did kind of revised leakage study in 2008. There was an update in maybe 2014. It was our intention this year to do a new sales leakage study. We were going to expand the reach a little bit to include other local retail north of town in our more franchised commercial district. Unfortunately, that's been put on hold right now as the extension doesn't have the capacity to do that. We were really hoping to take the results from that to help us provide that information to landlords and property owners to say, here's where we're still losing money. So it's our thought that if we can recruit these kinds of businesses, they will thrive here. At this point, I guess, unfortunately, it's a wait and see to see what's going to close, what spaces will be available, but also what is local retail going to look like in the future. A lot of our businesses are very strong and they're doing very well. But often, you know, a local business throughout the day, they might have one or two, maybe three people in their store at a time. Doesn't mean that they're not doing well with their business. It just means that they're not getting huge crowds, but their business is okay. So I guess kind of my thought is we could open small retail. We could creatively perhaps open restaurants and space people apart. The reality is, unfortunately, we just don't know. Our intention is to work with property owners and landlords and continue to promote their spaces. Whenever we get people referrals that say, hey, I want to come to town, we pass that along. But at this point, it's going to be a wait and see and kind of see the fallout over the next 6 months before I think we could put together a well-informed and meaningful plan to go forward.
Okay, that is the end of our questions. Matt, thank you so much for this presentation. All of you participants, thank you for being here. Again, you will get a copy of the recording in an email later this afternoon. Please join us for our next webinars. We have one next Monday on the 27th, Historic Tax Credits 201, which is an attorney, a consultant, and an accountant explaining the more advanced nuances of using historic tax credits. And then look for April 29th. We're planning a bankers panel of small business lending information. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to the Heritage Ohio supporters for funding these webinars, and we'll see you again next week.